I kept his box sealed for 3 years, convincing myself that inside was just a love letter, a goodbye, something to help me heal. But when I finally opened it, what I found shattered everything I thought I knew about the man I married. Please stay with me. This isn't just about grief. It's about how one secret can turn love into something unrecognizable. My name is Elena Marlowe, and I'm 34 years old. 3 years ago, I buried my husband, Daniel. He was only 36 when a sudden heart attack took him in the middle of an ordinary spring afternoon. One moment he was laughing on the phone in his home office, and the next he was gone. I remember the silence of that day more than anything. The way the house seemed to swallow me whole, leaving me adrift in an ocean of grief. After the funeral, when the mourners had left and the casseroles grew cold in the fridge, I found a small wooden box on his desk. It wasn't large, just the size of a jewelry case, with a simple label taped across the top in Daniel's handwriting. Don't open this until I'm gone. Only when you're ready. At first, the words brought me comfort. They felt like a final embrace, a sign that Daniel had thought of me even in death. I carried the box to our bedroom and set it on the nightstand beside his photo. For weeks, I would trace the edge of the tape with my fingertip at night, whispering to him as if he could hear me. But I never opened it. Why? Because I was afraid. Afraid that once I looked inside, there would be nothing left of him to discover. A letter, maybe. Some words of encouragement. Or worse, nothing at all. I wasn't ready to face that void. So I let the box sit there, untouched, gathering dust like a silent guardian of secrets I wasn't brave enough to face. Time passed in uneven rhythms. I learned to live around the absence, filling my days with work, errands, and the fragile routine of survival. Friends urged me to move on, to date again, to reclaim my life. But how could I, when a part of me still belonged to that unopened box? By the 3rd year, something changed. I had begun to feel less like a widow and more like a ghost in my own life. One evening, while clearing out drawers for a charity donation, my eyes fell on the box again. The tape had yellowed slightly, edges curling as if urging me to peel it away. My heart raced as I picked it up, weighing it in my hands. For the first time, I noticed it wasn't as light as I had assumed. Inside, there wasn't just paper. There was something else, something heavier. I sat on the edge of my bed, box trembling in my lap. My fingers hovered over the tape, my breath shallow. 3 years of waiting, of wondering, of fearing had come down to this moment. And then I tore it open. Inside wasn't a letter. It was a small, sleek USB drive. Why would Daniel, the man I trusted with my whole life, leave behind a USB drive instead of a letter? And what could possibly be on it? The USB drive sat in my palm, cold and unassuming, yet heavier than anything I'd ever held. It didn't make sense. Daniel was a writer of notes, a scribbler of reminders on napkins and sticky pads. He left me love letters tucked inside cookbooks and grocery lists. So why this? Why a device that could hold anything? My hands shook as I turned it over. The silver casing reflected the dim glow of the bedside lamp, and for a moment, I caught my own reflection staring back, eyes hollow, lips pressed tight. I tried to imagine Daniel, just days before his death, placing this drive in the box. What had he been thinking? What had he wanted me to see? My heart hammered. Logic whispered I should plug it in immediately, demand answers from the pixels and files waiting inside. But fear, deep bone-deep fear, rooted me to the mattress. What if it was something ordinary, something anticlimactic that would deflate the mystery I'd been carrying for years? Or worse, what if it wasn't ordinary at all? I set the drive back in the box and closed the lid. My body felt heavy, pinned down by invisible hands. For hours, I lay awake beside it, torn between curiosity and dread. The next morning, I carried the box to the kitchen table, sunlight spilling over its wooden grain like a spotlight. I slid the drive between my fingers while sipping cold coffee, my stomach twisting. Finally, with a shaky breath, I stood and went to Daniel's old office. His computer still sat on the desk, dusty but functional, frozen in time like a relic. I powered it on. The familiar chime filled the room, and my chest tightened. The screen lit up, displaying Daniel's login photo. Him at the beach, squinting against the sun, smile easy and carefree. I pressed a trembling finger to the trackpad, typed in the password I knew by heart, and watched the desktop spring to life. When I plugged in the USB, the computer recognized it instantly. A folder appeared on the screen, titled simply, "For Elena." My throat tightened. I clicked. Inside, there weren't dozens of files, just one. A single video labeled with a date, April 7th, 2019. My breath caught. That was 2 days before he died. I hesitated, mouse hovering over the file. Tears stung my eyes. I whispered into the silence. Daniel, what did you do? With a trembling hand, I double-clicked the file. The screen flickered, the video buffering for a moment before snapping into focus. And then Daniel's face filled the screen. He was alive again, staring right at me through the glow of the monitor, about to say words he had recorded just before his death. But the first sentence he spoke wasn't at all what I expected. Daniel's face blinked into life, the glow of the screen painting his features in light I hadn't seen in years. My breath caught in my throat. He looked tired, shadows under his eyes, his hair slightly disheveled as though he'd been pacing before sitting down. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't his usual calm, steady self. Elena, he began, voice low, urgent. If you're watching this, it means I didn't make it. I pressed a hand to my mouth. The sound of his voice after 3 years struck me harder than any photograph or memory. He was alive again, here, speaking to me across time. I don't have long, he continued, glancing off-screen as if worried someone might be listening. There are things I never told you, things I should have, but I couldn't risk it while I was alive. You deserved a normal life, Elena. You deserved safety. Safety? My stomach nodded. Daniel leaned closer to the camera, his eyes intense. I need you to know that the man you married, he wasn't the full truth of me. I hid things from you. Not because I wanted to lie, but because if I told you, you would have been in danger. Danger? My mind raced. Daniel had been an accountant at a small firm, the most ordinary of men, or so I thought. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling shakily. Elena, I was involved in something I could never pull away from. And by the time I met you, it was already too late. I thought I could shield you from it, that they would leave us alone if I played by the rules. But now I'm not sure. Tears blurred my vision. His voice cracked on the next words. I love you. I always have. But if you dig deeper into this drive, you'll find things that will change how you see me. How you see us. Please, only look if you're ready. And if you do, be careful who you trust. The screen went black. For a long moment, I sat frozen, the room utterly silent except for the frantic pounding of my heart. My husband, the man who cooked me pancakes on Sundays, who kissed my forehead every night, was telling me he had lived a double life. I opened the folder again. Another file had appeared, one that hadn't been visible before. My hand shook as I moved the cursor over it. The title made my stomach flip. The truth. I hovered over the file, knowing that opening it could destroy the memory of the man I loved, or reveal a stranger I was never meant to meet. The cursor blinked over the file name like a heartbeat, steady and relentless. The truth. I sat frozen, palms damp against the desk. Part of me wanted to slam the laptop shut, lock the USB back in its box, and pretend I had never seen Daniel's haunted eyes or heard his warning. But another part of me, the part that had lived with unanswered questions for 3 long years, couldn't walk away. With a breath that felt like stepping off a cliff, I double-clicked. The video opened to darkness at first. Then Daniel's voice filled the room again, lower this time, steadier. Elena, if you've made it this far, it means you've chosen to know. And I can't shield you anymore. The image brightened, revealing him seated in a different place. Not our home office, but a stark room with bare walls, the faint hum of machinery in the background. He looked older in this recording, wearier, like years had passed between the man in the first video and the man here. I wasn't just working at the firm, he said, eyes hard. The company was a front. We laundered money for people you don't ever want to meet. Dangerous people. When I met you, I swore I'd keep that world away from you. But it seeped in, Elena. It always seeps in. My stomach twisted. I gripped the edge of the desk until my knuckles whitened. Daniel leaned closer, his voice a whisper. I kept files, evidence. On all of them. I hid them where no one could find them, not even my partners. That's why I knew my days were numbered. People like this, they don't forgive. They don't forget. He paused, his jaw tightening. If they ever learn you have this, you'll be in danger. But if you're brave enough to look, if you're ready, you'll find the answers hidden here. The video flickered, static cutting across the screen. When it cleared, Daniel's voice was sharper, urgent. Don't trust anyone, Elena. Not the police. Not friends. Not family. Especially not family. The screen went black again. I sat back, my heart slamming against my ribs so hard it hurt. Family? What did he mean? Which family? My parents were long gone. My sister lived states away and barely called. Could he mean his side of the family? I glanced at the computer screen. A new folder had appeared, untitled, its icon a plain gray square. My hand trembled as I moved the mouse toward it. I hesitated. Whatever was inside might rewrite every memory, every laugh, every kiss. It might even explain why Daniel had really died. I clicked. Inside were dozens of files, documents, photos, even more videos. And at the top of the list was a single name. A name I knew. The name staring back at me was someone close. Someone I had trusted. And in that moment, I realized Daniel's warning about family might not have been paranoia at all. The folder opened, and there it was, plain black text on a white background, like any other file name. But it felt like a blade pressed against my skin. Margaret_Hall.pdf. My sister. My breath caught, the room tilting as if the air had thinned. Margaret. My only sibling, my childhood shadow. We weren't close anymore, distance and time had seen to that. But she still called on holidays, sent awkward birthday texts, signed her name with too many exclamation points like she was trying to make up for years of silence. Why would Daniel have a file on her? I clicked before fear could stop me. The PDF opened, filling the screen with scans of emails, bank transfers, photographs. I skimmed the first page, my pulse thundering louder with each line. Wire transfers from offshore accounts. Messages coded but unmistakable. Photos of Margaret at a dinner table with men I didn't recognize. Men in dark suits, expressions sharp, calculating. My sister wasn't just mentioned, she was part of it. I shoved back from the desk, the chair screeching against the floorboards. No, this couldn't be right. Margaret was a teacher. She lived a quiet life. She'd never even had a speeding ticket. But then Daniel's words replayed in my head, cold and deliberate. Especially not family. I pressed my hands to my face, trying to breathe, but all I could see was Margaret's smile. All I could hear was her voice on the phone just weeks ago asking casually if I'd been cleaning out Daniel's things yet. Had she been waiting for this? The laptop chimed softly. I lowered my hands. A new notification appeared on the screen, an incoming message. For a second, I thought my mind was playing tricks, but no, the computer was connected to the internet. The message was brief. A single line that made my blood run cold. Elena, we need to talk. M. At that exact moment, my phone buzzed on the desk. The caller ID lit up with her name, Margaret. My sister was calling me, right as I was staring at evidence tying her to the people who might have killed my husband. And I had no idea if answering would save me or doom me. The phone buzzed against the desk, the sound impossibly loud in the silence. Margaret. I stared at her name flashing on the screen, my hand hovering above it. My chest was tight, my pulse erratic. How could she know? Had she been watching me somehow? Did she know about the files? The call rang out, then stopped. Relief flooded me for a single second, until the chime of a new voicemail pierced the air. With trembling fingers, I pressed play. Elena, Margaret's voice filled the room, calm but clipped. I think you found something you shouldn't have. Don't panic. Just don't make any rash decisions. Call me back, okay? The line went dead. I pressed the phone against my chest, breath shallow. She knew. Not only that, I could hear something in her tone, a controlled sharpness, like she wasn't speaking to her sister, but to a problem she needed to manage. My eyes flicked back to the computer screen. More files waited inside the folder. More proof, more secrets. I clicked through them in a frenzy. One video froze me cold. It was dated 6 months before Daniel's death. The footage was grainy, recorded from a corner of what looked like a restaurant. Daniel sat at a table. Across from him, Margaret. They were arguing. Even without sound, the tension was visible. Daniel leaning forward, voice sharp, Margaret stiff and unmoving. Then she slid an envelope across the table. Daniel looked inside, his face tightening, then shoving it back. She pushed it toward him again. The clip ended abruptly. I collapsed back into the chair, hands over my mouth. My husband and my sister. What had she offered him? Money. A threat. A way out. The phone buzzed again. A text this time. Meet me tomorrow. No more hiding. M. My entire body shook. Margaret had never been forceful, never demanding. But this message felt like a summons. For hours that night, I sat staring at the phone and the files, Daniel's warnings echoing inside me. Don't trust family. Don't trust anyone. But the truth was out now, clawing its way into the light. And I couldn't ignore it any longer. When dawn broke, pale and cold, I sent a single reply. Where? Her answer came back within seconds, like she'd been waiting. The house. Noon. The house. Our childhood home. The place where every secret we'd ever shared had been born. By agreeing to meet her, I wasn't just walking into a conversation. I was stepping into the heart of whatever had destroyed my marriage. And deep down, I knew not both of us would leave with the truth. The old house looked smaller than I remembered, sagging under the weight of years and secrets. Noon sunlight cut sharp lines across the peeling paint, the front porch creaking as if it, too, held its breath. Margaret was already there. She leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Not the sister who once braided my hair before school. Not the one who cried with me when Mom died. This Margaret looked older, colder, like a mask had slipped and revealed the steel beneath. "You came," she said simply. I forced my legs forward, each step heavier than the last. I saw the files. Her lips twitched, not quite a smile. "Then you know why I called you." "No, Margaret. I don't know anything. All I saw was Daniel meeting you. The money. The lies. What did you do?" Her eyes flickered, a flash of guilt, or maybe regret. He didn't listen. I told him to leave it alone. He thought he could outsmart them, keep records, stash evidence. He thought he could protect you. She shook her head. That was his mistake. I felt the words like a blade. "So what? You're saying you—" "I didn't kill him," she cut in sharply. "But I couldn't save him either. He got too close. He was going to turn everything over to the authorities. Do you have any idea what that would have meant? For me? For you?" Tears stung my eyes. "You let him die." Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. Margaret finally stepped closer, her voice low. "I did what I had to do to survive. You would have done the same." "No," I whispered. "I would never." Her gaze hardened. "Elena, listen to me. Those files, you're not safe with them. If they know you have them, you'll end up like Daniel. Give them to me. I can make this go away." I stared at her, my pulse pounding in my ears. My sister, my blood, was asking me to hand over the only piece of Daniel I had left, the only truth he trusted me to find. I thought of Daniel's final words. Don't trust anyone, especially not family. I slipped a hand into my bag, feeling the cold edge of the USB. "No," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I'm keeping it." For the first time, fear flickered across Margaret's face. Her mask cracked, and in that crack I saw the truth, desperation, greed, and the shadow of something darker. She stepped back, eyes narrowing. "Then you've just made yourself a target." I turned away before she could see me break. My legs carried me down the porch steps, my heart pounding like a war drum. I didn't know where I was going or who I could turn to, but I knew one thing with terrifying clarity. Daniel hadn't left me a goodbye. He had left me a warning. And now, his secret was mine to carry or to burn the world with. As I walked away from the house, clutching the USB like a lifeline, I understood something chilling. Margaret wasn't the only one watching. And this story wasn't over. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you.